Howdy friends, vinyl community, music lovers, welcome to a new episode of the Vinyl Survivor. This is where I talk about 5 albums that were new to me from my inbox, let you know what I thought of each one, let you know whether I'm going to be keeping any of these, and give you a bit of info and history on each one, and hopefully have a good time. So let's just go ahead and get into this first one. Definite classic here. This is Miles Davis's Bitches Brew. Very well known, classic jazz album, one of those ones that everyone says is a must-have. And with my limited knowledge of jazz music, I would say it's a pretty cool album. It's really interesting. Definitely, if you come from a rock and roll background, this is jazz fusion kind of stuff. So there's sort of that rock and roll sensibility to it at some points. It's very free. It's very open. Just a really cool and enjoyable piece of music. So this is the music on vinyl reissue of this. Sounds really good. Nicely packaged. Very true to the original packaging. I looked for an original of this for a while, and they're just pretty expensive. So this music on vinyl reissue is a pretty nice thing. Nice, really heavy vinyl. I'm sure probably 180 gram. They recreate the Columbia labels on this, although this would be a later issue of this, I would imagine, since this album was released in 1970. I would think it would have the red and white labels originally, but just a really nice reissue of a classic jazz album, one of those ones that everyone talks about, everyone says is a must-have, and I would have to agree. I think it lives up to the hype. It's really enjoyable, really fun, really interesting, a good kind of lights out kind of album, just to sit back and either close your eyes or turn the lights out and listen to, and really cool stuff. So Miles Davis's Bitches Brew, really interesting. That one is definitely going to be staying in the collection. Okay, next up we have an album from a Chicago band. They're sort of an indie pop band. This is titled by the C in the Cake. This is titled The Moonlit Butterfly, or The Moonlight Butterfly. Really cool, just as I said, indie pop. Some ventures off into some electronica type, very ambient type works on here, particularly with the title track, the Moonlight Butterfly. Very ambient electronic soundscape kind of stuff. This is from 2011 on Thrill Jockey Records, and it's just a really good pop album, really fun, really enjoyable, very beautiful, lush pop music, and really fun. Inner sleeve here, a little bit of liner notes, a little bit of artwork. There's the album itself, really nice sounding record, really well pressed. This is one that Dr. Deadwax recommended as a modern piece of music that sounds really good, and I have to agree, it sounds really great on vinyl. A really nice job, so good job, Thrill Jockey. Really nice pressing on this, and a really cool indie pop sort of band. And really, if you think you'd like indie pop mixed with a little bit of electronica, and it sort of varies throughout the album as far as if there's some more poppy music, there's some more electronic kind of music. It's a really short. It's an EP. It's only 6 tracks. But really enjoyable, and there's one really long track that's really cool on the second side. It's titled "Innkeeping." That's a cool track. Yeah, just check out the C in the Cake if you haven't checked them out before. Thanks, Mark, for turning me on to this band. We'll be maybe checking out more of their stuff in the future. But this is a cool piece, and I love elephants, so that was something that drew me to picking this up. So. Add this one to the collection. Okay, next up we have what is sort of, I guess, a compilation. This is from Johnny Cash, titled "The Singing Storyteller" on Buckboard Records. I believe Buckboard is one of those sort of budget labels where they would sort of repackage and do some do some compilations, and they would sell them. Maybe they weren't the original recordings; they were different recordings, and seen a lot of that stuff. So this has it says Folsom Blues, I Walk the Line, Give My Love to Rose, Ballad of a Teenage Queen, stuff like that. Gonna decide not to keep this. It's not that good in my opinion. It's just the quality is not that great. And I'm not that huge of a Johnny Cash fan. I got Folsom Prison Blues or Live at Folsom Prison, Live at San Quentin, and those are enough for me, I think. So this one's not going to be staying in the collection, but it was free in a batch of records my dad got. Pressing itself, as I said, budget label, really super thin vinyl on this one. So yeah, not much needs to be said about Johnny Cash, but this particular one's not making it. All right, next thing we have here today is the debut album from Charlie Daniels. This is self-titled debut from 1970. Of course, Charlie Daniels is one of the pioneers of the Southern rock genre. Often gets lumped into the country genre. I don't know why that is. He's definitely more Southern rock than country. Got a lot of airplay on country radio, but really it's more of a Southern rock kind of thing, Allman Brothers Band and those kind of things, Lynyrd Skynyrd. So this is his debut album, as I said, from 1970, although this is a reissue from, I'm guessing, around 1980. Has a barcode on it. But this is a really cool debut album from him. It kind of gives you the sense of where he came from. This would be a little while after he played on such albums as Nashville Skyline from Bob Dylan. He was sort of a studio musician before becoming a solo musician on his own. So this has just a really good lineup of songs, stuff you might have not heard from here. The standout track is the final track, I would say. It's the 39 Miles from Mobile. Really cool, just awesome guitar playing on there. Just a great track. So this is on Capitol, the green label that, as I said, sort of the late 70s, early 80s reissues were on this green label. So that's on there. I'd like to find this. I'd like to find an actual original of this album at some point. This one is going to be staying in the collection. This is another one that came out of that box of records my dad got. Yeah, but I'm going to be keeping this one for now. As I said, it's a really good Charlie Daniels album. It sort of solidifies the proof that he was one of the originators of the Southern rock genre, and a good album. So definitely pick this one up if you find it and you think you like Southern rock. Really recommended album. Okay, and the last album we have to talk about for today is the fourth album from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This is titled Trilogy from 1972. Definitely very heavy in the Emerson field, I would say. Lots and lots of organ and synthesizer and keyboards, and yeah, very heavy in those aspects, I would say. Less of a rock and roll sort of feel, very much more of a musical composition. It all sort of flows, the whole album sort of flows together as one piece of music. Really cool photography on the inside cover. The artwork on this album is done by Hypnosis. So you got really cool multiple exposure here inside that I've always enjoyed having. So the music on this one is, as I said, very heavy with the keyboard instruments, synthesizers, organs, whatnot. Piano. This is on Cotillion Records. Yeah, as I said, this is more of a almost in a classical sense, more of a sort of a classical Emerson, Lake and Palmer album, a little less bombastic and more just compositions, I would say. Definitely not my favorite Emerson, Lake and Palmer album, but there's some good moments on here. Really cool synthesizer moments on here. I believe the hit on here was titled From the Beginning, more of an acoustic ballad. Definitely doesn't match what the rest of this album sounds like. So yeah, not necessarily my, as I said, not necessarily my favorite Emerson, Lake and Palmer album, but a good album and an enjoyable piece, and something that will be staying in the collection. And I believe this was $1 from the library sale. Not a perfect pressing of this, but a good enough for now. It sounds pretty good. So that was a new episode of the Vinyl Survivor. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any thoughts or feelings about any of these albums or any questions, leave them down in the show notes below in the comments. If you like this and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.